What is happening? How you feeling? How you living? We are excited to give you a good stream tonight. It's a Sunday night where you are. It's a Monday morning where we are, and we're ready to attack this week and help people improve their dynasty teams. At the end of the day, that's the ultimate goal here.
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna break it down, do what we do best,
Anything exciting on your weekend?
Not at all.
Nothing. Wow.
Just family, chilling.
Okay.
Really.
That's fair. That's fair.
Nothing too crazy.
Big Dog is in the chat. He says, "Let's go, dudes. Team review tonight. Can't wait. We're excited. Excited to help you out with your team. I know it's gonna be fun. But we appreciate y'all. Thanks for joining us. Hit that like button as the show is just beginning. Sunday night. I know people roll in a little bit later on these streams typically. What's up, Chase? What's Gucci? Welcome in. What's up, Josh? Welcome in. Thanks for joining. But like we mentioned, we are helping people with their dynasty teams today. And the first team that we are looking at today is Simmer's team. By the way, if your name is Rides Jones or MVRCO, check your DMs, check your friend requests. We want to review your team. We just got no info from you. But Simmer is the first one up that we have verified here.
Simmer.
And he's given us a bunch of information on his team, which is great. We love to see that. Why don't you go ahead and walk him through that? But just before you do, we want to let anyone know who's watching this either now or later that if you do want your dynasty team reviewed by us, it's very simple. All you gotta do is become a Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAND. So you can see all the things that you would unlock here on your screen when you become a Mother Flocker member on the code LAND. You get our 2024 rookie report. You get a dynasty team review just like we do here in these streams. You get unlimited access to our calculator, all of our rankings. Right. You get to be a part of our dynasty trade show that we do every single month. You get unlimited access to our Discord channels as well. And of course, you're supporting Badaki and I as well. Big Dog says he's here. You love to see it. Lloyd says IDP video in the future. I can't promise you anything IDP, but I'm not going to say never, but I can't promise it to you.
Never say never. A lot of solo quotes here today. We cannot promise, but hey, we are not going to make believe that we know what we're talking about when it comes on the IDP. So yeah, we're probably not the best people for information.
Yes.
When it comes down to that IDP specifically. Anyways, Simba, we're going to break down this context here. We appreciate you. He says, yo, fellas, glad to be a Mother Flocker. I've been watching Mason do his thing for a few years now in Dynasty circles, and he's puts me onto you guys with the start of the site. I really appreciate all the work you guys do and try my best to hit every live. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. So if not, I'll watch the next morning, but you are here with us today, which is great. This is the start of year 3 of my league. I've been playing Dynasty for about 7 years now, but always one quarterback. My league is an odd group. It's all of my best friends, and some are very knowledgeable, while others know ball, but not the extent.
Yeah, that sounds like a home league.
Extent of the rest. Yeah, 100%. I mean, not everyone's all over the place when it comes down to Dynasty in a lot of home leagues. It's an expensive buy-in league and is very active. It's currently a 10-team, 1 quarterback, 6-point passing touchdowns, 1 point per reception for all positions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and 2 flex. So you can start to 4 wide receivers there. However, it's transitioning to SuperFlex and tight end premium, 1.5 for receptions after this upcoming season. So in 2025, you're saying, and we plan to just add another spot for SuperFlex. You have essentially the 102 to the 204. Yep. With my league mates not prepping well enough for the turn to Superflex, the first pick looking like will be Martin Harrison Jr. I would likely get Caleb at the 102 and Neighbors at the 103. That's huge. The guy at the 104 will 100% not go QB unless it's Caleb and won't go Bowers. His pick is likely a Dunze. With being a new to Superflex landscape, what would you recommend me doing? My thought process would be grabbing May, Bowers, and Daniels at the 106. From the 105 to the 107, I'm embracing the suck this year to hopefully hit the ground running next year with 1 or 2 more top running backs. I have my picks in another likely early 25 first. Dudes like Chandler and Ollie Gordon have me
Ooh,
excited.
come on, boy.
Again, yeah, right. Again, thank you so much for all the work you guys put in. It's my #1 source of entertainment, and probably everyone else
Oh,
is
that's
on
kind.
here. Once again, we appreciate you, Simba. Thank you so much for all that context here. We got to break it down.
I love me some
We
Ashton
have,
Genty, by the way. You and I are on the same page there, Simmer.
yeah, I
His
don't know
team
much
name is
about
La
25.
Flama Blanca, by the way.
La Flama Blanca, and is going into a Superflex league, not this year, but next year,
So,
into a Titan Premium. So 2025 is going to turn into a Superflex plus Titan Premium, which is pretty big.
so right now we're looking at what I just put in the chat, which is 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 tight end, 2 flex. So that is a start 2, 4, 6, 8. Right now it's a start 8. That's a really small league.
It's going to
You
be
will
start 9 though.
you will be adding a super flex. So eventually it will be this 2 quarterbacks, which in the scheme of things is still relatively small for a super flex league.
Sure.
So that is something to consider. No need to say sorry. I mean, that is great, great context. We love it. But to me, as soon as I heard that, we take advantage of the people who don't understand Superflex, and we plan for 2025 right here in this 2024 draft if you're about to transition to Superflex leagues.
100%.
So his name is La Flama Blanca, and it's a 10-man, right?
It is a 10-man, which is going to make this very interesting. But yes, it is a 10-man. I'll go ahead and break it down here. Quarterback is Joe Burr. Running backs is Jerome Ford, Antonio Gibson, Rico Dow. So you definitely need help at the running back position, I would say. Wide receivers, Jamar Chase, Garrett Wilson, Josh Downs, Ontavion Wicks, Michael Wilson, and Demario Douglas. And tight ends, Jake Ferguson, Mike Mayer, and Pat the Dragon with Tucker Kraft here. So
the reason you rank #1 is really the draft picks. So we gotta hit on these draft picks, but I think we can. It's a good class to hit too.
Yeah, and I think having all these draft picks is really going to turn around your team, like you said, and having that extra. You said an extra 25 first. You have 225 first, which also is going to be really helpful for you to. From what we know, this 25 first class is really heavy at the running back position. Maybe that's where you can definitely thrive. But at the same time,
the name of the guy's 25 first that he has, the team name is Titty Boy. So just a fun
love that
fact there.
Shout out to Titty Boy. But at the same time, hashtag cinnamon. At the same time, you have the 202 to the 204, which is a sweet spot for a running back as well. So I guess the best thing to do is go straight into the whiteboard.
Yeah, let's go stick and pick here. And it sounds like Big Dog in the chat here is thinking the same thing. I would be operating as if this is a super flex league today. I think we can compete even if it's 1 quarterback, but knowing that it's super flex, knowing that it's tight end premium, how I would draft and how I believe Badaki would draft is super flex, tight end premium right now, right here, considering in 2025 your league is transitioning and you are not ready for super flex given your current roster, only Joe Burrow. So he mentioned the 101 is going to be Marvin Harrison Jr. That's perfect. We'll take Caleb Williams. He mentioned at the 103 that he believes people are going to go 1 quarterback route. So he would take Malik Neighbors here. And then from the 105 to the 106 and the 107, I guess he is going to end up having his choice of quarterback from what it sounds. So 5, 6, 7, that's 3 in a row. And he said Adunze's at the 104. So for me, that's probably Jaden Daniels. That's probably Drake May. That's probably Brock Bowers, all in a row. How about you?
Yeah, that's exactly where I would go. And I know you're probably thinking, well, do I need 3 quarterbacks in a Superflex league when you already have Joe Burrow? So you're saying you're going to have Joe Burrow, Caleb, Jaden Daniels, Drake May. Look, maybe we can think of other scenarios, but we always say go best player available, especially, I would say, if Rome Odunze is off the board. Now, I think if Rome Odunze is on the board, you correct me if I'm wrong, maybe we can reconsider if he is there for one of these other quarterbacks, since we have the 3 already locked down.
Maybe it depends
Hypothetically.
between him and Brock, and where they land. If Brock is like, I don't know, if the Bengals trade up for Brock Bowers, we're probably taking Brock considering it's going to be tight and premium next year.
Sure.
But it's, a lot left to be concluded or like figured out with that. But at the end of the day, he was on board with this, which is great. When you look at his context, he said he's probably going May, Bowers, Daniels, so he's on the same board with us, and that would mean if those guys are gone, you're probably looking at like a Brian Thomas Jr. or a JJ at your next pick. But Aki, as crazy as it sounds, man, I don't know about you. Like if JJ's on the board there and Bowers and Brian Thomas is gone, I would even consider JJ at the 202.
Yeah, and I think it can definitely be that way based off of how this league is going to operate. If these guys aren't worried about getting another quarterback next year or until next year, then this is trade bait.
Why don't we look at the rest of this league? Let's see where they're.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple teams: C.J. Stroud, Brock Purdy, Dak Prescott, Tua, Lamar, Will, Anthony Richardson, Trevor, Justin Herbert, Justin Fields, Patrick Mahomes, Jordan Love, Josh Allen in golf, Jalen Hurts, Bryce Young, Kyler.
Yeah, so this guy has only Kyler. He's going to definitely need a quarterback. Team 10, that is. Team 9 has Bryce Young after Hurts. Who knows if Bryce Young becomes that player or not. Josh Allen, Jared Goff is a pretty good one, too. But Team 6 has Herbert. After that, Fields and Roger. There's no guarantee in a SuperFlex league there. You got a lot of guys who only have 2 quarterbacks anyway. Typically we want 3 guys we can rely on. You got Team 4 who has Lamar Jackson, Will Levis. What if Will Levis doesn't turn out to be the player he wants him to be? And by the way, that team has no first-round pick in 2024, so he can't improve that quarterback position anyway. Team 3 is decent, but still, even these teams that are decent, no QB3 on their squad. So, yeah, you've got a lot of teams that you could use as trade bait going into next year. So that's exciting, man.
Also, Simmer, there must be a couple of quarterbacks that are on the waiver wire right now that I would potentially say you should pick up. It may not be exciting, and maybe there's no point to do it, but maybe have him on your roster. I think Derek Carr is one that I can see that is not on a team right now.
Let's look at available players. I think that's where we can find out who's
Can we?
So available players, veterans only. So right now, Kirk Cousins is available. You got to pick up Kirk Cousins.
I mean, you got to pick up Kirk Cousins.
Oh my gosh, Baker Mayfield, Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson. How big is your bench? Actually, that's probably another thing. This is probably why he's not picking them up, because he has to drop somebody.
And that might actually change the 109, the way I view the 109. Not gonna lie.
Having Kirk Cousins being able to pick up Baker Mayfield there.
If I can pick up Kirk Cousins, if I can pick up Deshaun Watson, it feels like that 109 should have a lot more flexibility, because I'm already kind of accomplishing what I'm hoping JJ McCarthy ends up being, right?
Yeah.
So actually, the first thing I would do with this league, pick up straight away.
Well, he's saying our draft is both free agent and rookie, so we aren't able to access veterans right now. Who's more valuable assets? That's Tyrone. Yes, pick up straight away. Continue.
So yeah, let's see. Look, let's see what happens after your draft. But for example, if any of the quarterbacks below are available, that's how I would use these picks, like the 401, the 501. If a Kirk Cousins, if a Deshaun Watson, who else was there? Baker Mayfield.
You have to think that, now that I'm thinking about this league, and I have let's say I have a first round pick, some of these guys are probably doing this as well. I won't be surprised if some of these rookie picks, if it's going to be incorporated with an actual free agent, that Kirk Cousins could potentially go middle of the second round.
Yeah,
that may sound crazy, but
I don't doubt it either. But
yeah,
the way he's saying is people are operating as one quarterback. So Well, I guess the question is, would you pick up Kirk Cousins for the 204 then, Badaki?
Like if I would, if I knew, I guess it depends on who's available and what that looks like. But yes, I would, especially in the SuperFlex
Well,
league.
let's play out two scenarios here then. So scenario, and these are both stick and pick plus vet QB. So in this scenario, you don't take JJ at the 109. Instead, you go Kirk Cousins at the 204, right? Or Deshaun Watson.
I gotta see who else is available.
And then at the 109, you can go Brian Thomas Jr. You can go, Benson and Brooks are in range here. Not to say that you have to, but also McConkey, Mitchell, Worthy. That's the kind of range here. Franklin, right? That's the kind of range you're in right there. And keeping in mind, by the way, that it is a 10-man league. So the 202 is technically the 112 when you think about it in that light. So you're kind of in that same range all the way down until the 204. So there's really two worlds that you're living in here. Although Brian Thomas Jr. we can probably take out. I doubt he'd be available here. But these are kind of the two worlds that you're living in. I mean, if you know at the 204 you can get Kirk Cousins or Deshaun Watson, you can use that 109 and shoot for the moon with a Brian Thomas Jr. You can get if Benson actually does go Cowboys round 2, you can take a shot on like that high upside running back who might gain value heading into his second year.
Actually be let me know how you feel, but I'd actually be okay to just go wide receiver, locking that in at the 109 and risking it in the late second rounds, because if you're saying that Kirk Cousins is off the board, but I still have the option of Baker Mayfield or Deshaun Watson, I'm happy to take that risk based off of the quarterbacks that you're already drafting.
Well, yeah, and you own the 202, 203, 204, so you only need to know that the 110 and the 201 don't take. I would look, if I knew it was Cousins or Watson, I'd be.
Well, obviously.
But if I knew, like, okay, I'm getting Stafford at the 204, I think I'd rather take a pick.
100%. I agree. And I would also throw Baker Mayfield in that conversation as well. Like, I think there's 3 quarterbacks that are available currently that I would be like, okay, if one of these 3's full to me at the 204 potentially later, then I'll be okay. Because once again, I already have my top technically 4 quarterbacks that I need. I'm just getting an extra piece. An additional piece to sell higher later on in the season.
Chase did ask, is it a bad idea to take all those guys? Cousins, Mayfield, Watson. The only reason I think it's a bad idea, like in a 12-man, no question, but in a 10-man, those guys might not have as much value as we think they do if we're thinking from a 12-man perspective. If you think about it, Kirk Cousins right now is like a late first-round value anyway. Baker Mayfield, late first-round value. Matthew Stafford, you're not getting more than a mid-second. I don't even know if I would pay a mid-second for Stafford. So that's tough, because how much more will their value increase in this format? I think we don't want to put all of our eggs in that basket. What if you miss out on this year's Rashee Rice or Jaden Reed, or Devon Achane of this year? There's no Achane talent-wise. Like, it's not comparing them as players, but you get what I'm saying.
Sure.
We did get a super chat from Scribbles. We're going to answer that. We will answer after this review. We won't forget. Just want to let you know.
Yeah.
I just want to break up this review for Big Dog here.
I get it. And for Simmer here, I think this is a phenomenal way to go. And I'm not sure about you, but I'm not necessarily wanting to trade unless I can get one
absolutely
of these
not, because it doesn't sound like anyone in your league understands SuperFlex values. If you're telling us that you're probably going to get Drake May at the 107, I know it's one quarterback this year, but if you're telling me Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Brock Bowers, all available 105 to the 107, then the picks are actually undervalued because your league doesn't understand SuperFlex values yet. So let's put this world together. Let's think from the mindset of a 2025 team. Your preferred way is getting Brian Thomas at the 109, right? Let's say we got Benson as well. We got Worthy, and we picked up Kirk Cousins. Like, let's play out this world, what your team would look like for 2025. So your quarterback room is absolutely stacked, and that is where you can use for trade bait. You know, if Caleb Williams has the best rookie season ever, and you want to trade him like we are seeing with CJ Stroud right now for incredible value at other positions, superstar wide receivers plus future draft capital, you know, you can do that. But your team would have Caleb Williams, Drake May, Kirk Cousins, Jaden Daniels, and Joe Burrow. So clearly that's not the team that you're starting the 2025 season with, but you can use those guys to improve the rest of your team. You know, can you use a Joe Burrow at that point to go out and get a Bijan Robinson plus a first round pick or something, you know, this time next year? Your running back room, you add a Benson, you have a Ford, but you still have those picks in 2025. Hopefully you can improve it then. Also, those quarterbacks you can use to round out your roster. At wide receiver, you've got Chase, you got Wilson. We also added Brian Thomas Jr., Malik Neighbors. And keeping in mind that your starting lineups are still quite small, right? So if we look at just the positions, you only need 2 running backs. So let's say Benson and we trade for Jahmyr Gibbs, right, with one of those quarterbacks, just as an example. At wide receiver, you can only start 4 anyway. So we'll have Chase, we'll have Wilson, we'll have Malik Neighbors, and then we'll have Brian Thomas Jr. or a Worthy, or let's say Josh Downs or Wicks or Wilson take another step. At tight end, you'll have Brock Bowers in a tight end premium format, and Jake Ferguson will be your second. You'll be in a fantastic spot. So to me, I agree with Badaki in the sense of like, these picks are undervalued in your league. I'm not trying to trade them away. I'm not trying to entertain offers where someone's like, hey man, I'll give you James Cook for the 107. No, because the 107 is more valuable right now in SuperFlex than James Cook by a mile.
Yeah, I agree there. And he says, would there be any situation where you take 2 running backs in the second? It all depends on draft capital. All depends on where Benson and Brooks goes in the NFL draft. So there is a world where that is a possibility.
Let's play 100%. Out that world, right? So Jonathan Brooks goes to, let's just say, I don't know. Like, it really could be any team. Jonathan Brooks is a Viking in round 2, for example. Benson is a Cowboy in round 2. Then those guys could be your 203 and your 202, right?
100%,
but
100%.
In a different world, let's say Benson goes round 3. It's a Zach Charbonnet situation, and he lands, I don't know, in Atlanta. You know, we have to readjust at that point, right? But yeah, absolutely, there's a scenario where that's possible. And it's funny because even if you play this world out in one quarterback, you are probably competing this year if those rookie running backs hit.
Yeah.
So
I actually wouldn't be surprised if those running backs go earlier in the 10-man league. It feels like this is a very heavy running back driven league. You know, like one of these classic running backs values. No one really understands why. Or because that's where it used to be. Like, that's where fantasy used to hold all its value at the running back position back in the day. But it's not like that anymore. Anyways.
Yeah.
I think this is a fantastic team. You have an amazing draft capital. I think the stick and pick scenario here is probably one of the best ways to maneuver or to go. And I think you're in a perfect situation here that you honestly just have to let the draft come to you.
And in a way, because everyone's team is so strong at running back, that could let those other running backs fall down the board anyway. You know, because it is quite a strong running back room for most teams. So, yeah, I think this one is relatively simple in the sense of, like, you've put yourself in an incredible position. Now we just got to capitalize on that draft capital. We got to capitalize on the transition in the league that no one else is capitalizing on. So, yeah, right now I wouldn't really, like, I can't tell you to go trade Joe Burrow if your league is thinking from a one quarterback perspective, because next year Joe Burrow will be a top 6 asset in all of your leagues, right? In your entire league. I'm not going to tell you to trade Jamar Chase or Garrett Wilson either, because your starting lineups are so small, right? What I would say is I would totally be willing to sell Josh Downs for any mid-second. That's the only player that came out to me.
Josh Downs.
Yeah, and knowing that in your league, you could get the 206 and draft Kirk Cousins maybe. It's like a no-brainer to me to do that.
Sure.
So, and that's just because that's a video that we brought up recently. But there's no clear sell high either, given the format.
Yeah, given the format, there's no clear sell high. I mean, yeah, I bought Garrett Wilson in this recent video, but I don't think you can necessarily pivot off of him in this format unless somebody values Garrett Wilson as the god.
Yeah.
As like he is Thanos, then sure, see how much you can squeeze out of that person. But in this scenario, I think you're best to keep him.
And typically we would say if you can sell the late first, 109 is really the 111 in this league when you think about value, how the league would perceive it or whatever. But if we're going to flip the 109 into a 25 first, we typically love that. Why I don't love it here is because you're telling me how undervalued SuperFlex players are, so you could capitalize on that in this league. Yep. So I would be open to getting a 25 first if it's a team that I could see crumbling this year, but sure. Otherwise I might hold. What I want to know from Big Dog is, we didn't go deep into like trade options and trading down. It's just like not what we would do. But I'm curious what you think. He says there's an offer right now, the 201, a mid 25 first, and a 26 first for Garrett Wilson.
I mean, getting 2 first right now sounds exciting, but just feel like that's a bit too far for me. I think in this format, I would rather keep Garrett Wilson, even if I'm getting 2 first. Well, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm trying to work that out in my head because your starting lineup is so small. I think in a 12-man,
Yeah, 12-man probably feels a little better.
Start 10 or 11, that feels a little bit more reasonable. But
yeah, I agree.
I don't know. 100%. I think in a format like yours, I think I'd hold Garrett Wilson. And I went to the Dynasty trade calculator we have and put my rankings in there, and it also agrees with that opinion. So it's not far off, though. Like, if you could counter that, tell us, Big Dog, who the team is. Tell us who the team is that's offering that, because maybe we can find a better counter.
1 second.
Because right now, deal on the table is send Garrett Wilson, receive the 201, 25 first plus 26 first. Bulbous minions. Okay.
Bulbous minions.
So yeah, so he's got the 201. He wants Garrett Wilson from you.
The one thing I was gonna say was, I think I would be intrigued if it was like the 105 of this year. Even though in our minds, I know that it wouldn't. That's still like Garrett Wilson could be even like a top 4, top 3, or top 4 pick. I feel like top 5 is just outside potentially that range that we've been seeing in the community for Garrett Wilson, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see what Q Trade Cut says right now.
I think I would tier down to Addison, though. Like, if you're telling me, would you do Jordan Addison plus 2 first?
No.
No?
I'm not saying no. I'm saying I just don't know. I think the reason why I'm hesitant on this is because of that 26 first. This team is not a terrible team.
Yeah, this team might compete for a while. But if you take away Addison from them, now they have Smith and Garrett Wilson. When it becomes a SuperFlex league, they won't have their first round pick. They're going to need Justin Fields to be the starter. What if that doesn't happen?
Yeah.
They might be right back to you for a trade.
I don't know. I'm kind of indifferent about it. I'm not in love with it, and I'm not like jumping. I'm not going straight for it immediately. I think that's the best way I can
I think
explain
that's
how I feel
fair.
about this trade.
Um,
Um,
yeah, he's really giving you everything that he can
he
in
has a
that deal.
105.
Looking at his team,
He has a 104.
but even man, I don't know. Like, could you do? You couldn't get Laporta in that deal as a swap. I was thinking like, what if instead of Addison, it was? He's not going to do Laporta and 2 firsts when it's about to go tight in premium. I don't know. I think I'd be open to this Addison deal. If you're able to get Addison and 2 firsts, I think I'd be willing to pull the trigger on that. Considering you have no intention to really compete this year anyway. And the reason Addison is important there is because you're trying to make his team weaker in this deal, if possible. So now, instead of Jordan Addison being his wide receiver 3, it's actually Christian Watson. And there's still a scenario where his quarterback room falls apart next year in a SuperFlex league. What if Aaron Rodgers retires? What if Justin Fields... Sorry, it was a fun project. There's no history to tell us it's going to work out.
Yep.
So there's a scenario where that team does fall apart. I think I'd be open to taking the Addison and the 2 first side of that deal. And are we on the same page in like believing that it's not going to be Sam Darnold as a starter at some point this year? They're going to draft a quarterback.
No question.
Somewhere.
At least that's the expectation.
So there is reasons for hope for Addison at this point. He might be a buy low after the Kirk news. So I'd be open to that. Just strategically thinking down the road, but yeah, Big Dog, let me know if there's anything that we didn't answer for you here. I think you've put yourself in a fantastic spot. This is a 1-year punt in my mind, and the 1-year punt involves getting ready for SuperFlex, and getting ready to dominate that. I mean, this time next year, if you're still with us and we're able to review your team, I'd love that. And I'd love to see where you are. I'd love to see how we can kind of tier up at that point with all the assets that we have, and build the best starting lineup from there moving forward, because you're going to have so much trade bait if this works out the way we want it to.
Yeah.
So
great team, though.
Let us know if there's anything that we didn't cover that you wanted us to cover, because we always want to give people their time. We appreciate your support. We appreciate you big time. And it sounds like you know what you're doing, honestly. It sounds like you're very aware, you know. I'm gonna send this whiteboard to your hotline, Simmer. Simmer down, simmer down.
Who got the keys to the Zimmer.
But yeah, we'll give him like 30 seconds here if there's any last minute questions. If you're watching this, guys, we appreciate you. Do us a favor, hit that like button. We got a like goal today of 50 likes. So if you could help us get there, that would be awesome. We're already at 20, so just need 30 more if y'all want to help us. We did get a super chat from Scribbles. And Scribbles' super chat is 12 team half PPR super flex. Jahan, the 202, the 204, DJ Moore.
Yeah, no question. Don't overthink it.
Yeah, that's a pretty good discount on DJ, I'd say.
Yeah. A lot of people are worried about Rome going to the Bears.
Yeah, and I get that. The only reason I wouldn't do this is if it's like a very big starting roster. Like you're in a start 12 or something, that might change it. But
sure.
Assuming it's not, I would take DJ Moore. I think that's a pretty good discount on him. Big Dog says, nah, you guys are great as always. Like I said, loading up for Superflex. Just needed positive affirmations. We'll be back next year, hopefully, for more. I love it. Thanks, fellas. All the best. Man. We appreciate you big time, man. Thank you for the support. So we looked at Simmer's team, and next on deck is Lighthouse Mushroom. Is Lighthouse with us? I know he was excited about his team review in the DMs. I wonder if he is here with us.
Yeah, let us know if you're with us on the YouTube chat.
I'd love to see it. He says, that's me.
Yeah, that's me, Lighthouse Mushroom. That's him.
That's him. We got him. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. But just before we do dive into the next team, we want to quickly let y'all know, whoever's watching this, if you want your Dynasty team reviewed, just like we did there for Big Dog, it's very simple. All you got to do is become a Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAND. Again,
All you
Mother
gotta do.
Flocker member with the promo code LAND. I put a direct link in the chat. It's also in the description if you're watching this later. I would suggest clicking instant access when you sign up so you don't have to wait for your trial to end for your team to be eligible for a review. But when you do sign up, go to your account in the top right, link your Discord, and then you should be able to see all of our premium Discord channels, including the roster submissions tab, where Lighthouse here submitted his team. So do you want to read this context for us?
Yeah, absolutely. 10 team Superflex start 11. By the way, Lighthouse, as I'm reading this context, can you put your starting lineup? So 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers as I'm reading this context.
I'll take a guess and
right
tell
now.
me if it's wrong.
Yeah. He says, I'm trying to push my team over the top. I've been trying to trade for AJ Brown all year. I got the deal done in a couple days after Saquon signed with the Eagles. My 3 best players at each key position are Eagles. I fell over leverage on the Eagles, right? I have a deal pending my approval of the 306 Hertz for Tua and the 105. That's interesting. As well as potential deal for Anthony Richardson in the 202 or Hertz. Looking to tear down from Hertz and either get 2 QBs to run a rotation or get a QB and another starting to help my wide receiver. In this league, there's potential for Marvin, Neighbors, Aduze to all go top 4. Otherwise, I'll likely would be getting May in room with the 105 and the 106. Okay. This team is Revenge of the Tush.
So it is 2 quarterback, 2 running back, 3 wide receiver, 1 tight end, 3 flex. So you can start 3 wide receivers at a time. It is start 10.
6 wide receivers.
Or sorry, it is a 10-man league, but start 11 with a tight end premium.
Okay.
And his team name is Revenge of the Tush.
Yeah, Revenge of the Tush here. It looks like he is second according to the rankings.
Pretty solid squad just from the get-go looking at this. But let's
having a geese by it looks phenomenal already. All right, quarterbacks: Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, Jacoby Brissett, and the list goes on there. You got 2 home run hitting quarterbacks there with Hurts and Murray. You don't have to worry about it. I always say this: it's good to have a 3rd quarterback on this team.
Yeah.
And I guess that 3rd quarterback at the moment is Jacoby Brissett. If the Patriots do not draft a quarterback, but other than that, I think you have 2 good starting quarterbacks, and maybe just can you get a Matthew Stafford for a late? Can you get a Geno for a late? A Daniel Jones if they don't draft a quarterback, just in case somebody goes down. At the running back position, you have big old Devon Achane, Saquon Barkley, Zach Charbonnet, Chase Brown, downtown, and the list goes on. I think this running back room is great here. Devon and Saquon Barkley, 2 starting running backs with Zach Charbonnet and Chase Brown, who I personally believe both are going to be seeing a lot more opportunities going into this 2024 season. Zach Charbonnet and Chase Brown specifically. At the wide receiver position, once again, you can start up to 6 wide receivers. If I'm reading that correctly.
Yeah.
AJ Brown, Chris Olave, Zay Flowers, Stephon Diggs are really your starting 4, and then you have Quentin Treylon Burks here. So you're gonna need some room here at the wide receiver position. Quentin could potentially be your 5th wide receiver, but there is no real say of how that's going to turn out to be. And also Parker Washington could potentially have a good role if they don't draft another wide receiver here. And then Trey McBride is your tight end here. So I can see how you're saying Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, and AJ Brown are your 3 Eagles here. But you also have Kyler Murray and Trey McBride, by the way, who
it's a good combo.
Yeah, good combo there.
I don't know. I don't really feel like you need to sell Hurts or Saquon or AJ Brown because they're Eagles.
That's how I'm feeling right now. I mean, if anything,
and especially like in a 10-man, having Hurts, I don't know. Like,
the only downfall to this is going to be the bye week. For this, imagine this year.
Kiss will win goodbye during the bye week.
Sure. I imagine this year if both the Eagles and the Cardinals have a bye week on the same week.
Yeah.
Don't watch.
That would be ideal. Honestly, I'd prefer that. That way I can get it out of the way.
100%. But yes, not ideal if that is going to happen. But overall, the team is great. and you have the 106, the 209, the 306, and the 410. So you don't have too much draft capital, but enough to work with,
Yeah.
which is great here.
So
You also mentioned something about the. Did he say the 105?
he had an offer,
otherwise,
which was
right,
the
Tua and the
306 Hertz
105.
for Tua and the 105. I said love it because I was like, that's a hard one to really figure out. But not that I am instantly accepting it. We'll need to talk it through. Offers on the table. We'll talk that through in a second here. I'm less inclined to sell a name like Jalen Hurts in this format. 10 team. You know, in a 10 team, I just really want the best players. It's a start 11, so it kind of helps balance that out, because if it was a 10 team start 8, it'd be like, no way we're selling Jalen Hurts. But in a 10 team start 11, there might be a deal out there, but I think it would need to impress me, and I would need to be really, blown away. I mean, if you look at Jalen Hurts on a per game basis in the last 3 years, wide receiver or quarterback 6 is the worst he's ever finished in the last 3 years. In the last 2 years, quarterback 2 and quarterback 1 on a points per game basis. You look at his rookie season, he didn't really play much. But since he's been a starter, it's been quarterback 6 finish at worst. I'm not a big Jalen Hurts fan, but I can recognize in fantasy football, the dude is a monster. So, he's a monster. I just don't think in a 10-man, like, that is the kind of advantage you're looking for. You're looking for the guy who puts up those kind of points in a 10-man.
Sure.
So would you rather tear down to Tua and maybe hit at the 105? I don't think I would. But we can counter this. I just don't think I would.
Yeah, we can definitely counter the 201, no question about it. The second one that he did have on the table here was Anthony Richardson in the 202 for Jalen Hurts. And I think
not
something,
rich enough.
yeah, something similar to, I guess, Tua is Anthony Richardson. Well, I guess a similar conversation potentially has been that Anthony Richardson hasn't proved himself. Yeah, in those 2 games, he could have potentially been a top 5 quarterback if he played the full season. He's more of a on the ground type of quarterback who's going to be utilizing his legs, but potentially not his arm. But we hope that he can potentially be there. But Jalen Hurts just feels like a solidified deal here, and your team is not far away. Your team is competing. You just need that one more wide receiver here that you can easily get at the 106 to definitely take it to the next level here. So I would agree. I think that may not be enough for Jalen Hurts as well.
I like the idea of tearing down to a Richardson, but this isn't enough for me. Like an early second is not moving the needle. I just looked at my rankings over on the Flock Fantasy Calculator. It says that the Hurts side slightly wins. Yeah, we need to make that a first value somehow. I know it's a good class. It's start 10, so it's technically, a late first round pick if you think about it that way, or it's a 10-man league. I also entered the Tua and the 105 side of that deal as well, and it's very, very close. I think it says relatively even. But me sitting here today on a stream, I think I prefer the Hurts side given the context of your team. But why don't we'll look at counters that we could reply with to those guys.
Yeah, let's look at stick and pick.
Let's look at stick and pick, yeah. He said there's a good chance that Adunze, Neighbors, and Marv are all gone in the top 4. So let's play that world out where it's Caleb, then Marv, Neighbors, Adunze. That's the first 4. That means you would be left with Daniels or May. And I actually think they're both very good fits for where your team currently lies. A Daniels May makes Hurts a little bit more movable, depending on the deal that we can get done. But it also kind of sucks because you could use an upgrade to your wide receiver room, in the sense of the depth,
I agree.
That part of it sucks, but you are, at the end of the day, we need to focus on taking the best player available. At the 209, that's really the 207 in a 10-man. So 12 plus 7 is 19. So my 19th ranked player I mean, you're looking. This is like McMillan, Burton. So it is a deep wide receiver class. Leggett, Polk, Pearsall. Thinking wide receivers. I mean, Corum is also there in my rankings. Jalen Wright. Your Romans, your Malachis.
Yeah.
That's that kind of range there. And, there is a world where we draft May and we draft Pearsall. And that does give us what we need to kind of push us over the top. Pearsall, maybe he becomes a startable wide receiver in fantasy. But in a start 6, your flex in general is struggling right now because even Zach Charbonnet, Chase Brown, like your flex options are not really that enticing at this moment. But at the end of the day, in a rookie draft, I'm still trying to get the best value, and I think that is a Daniels or a May. To me, in a 10-man, I'm probably leaning Daniels because of the rushing upside. But let's say you do draft Jaden Daniels, and in the first 4 weeks, the guy has, 3 rushing touchdowns, and he's a top 12 quarterback. I mean, there's a scenario here where you could look at moving off of Hurts and rocking with Daniels Murray. So, is there anything you want to say before we look at countering these deals that he's got?
No, yeah, I was just looking ahead at some of these teams that have top picks and what they potentially need and how we can, because I do believe it really hurts his team. It doesn't hurt his team, but like it hinders his team taking the next step to compete this year without that wide receiver. And if all those wide receivers are off the board, like you mentioned, and he has a third quarterback, it's like, damn. Like it's useful in the long run, but for this year, it's not. So I'm trying to think of ways that it can be useful this year potentially. When it comes down to the 106 year.
Well, yeah, there's certainly some names that we can talk about shopping the 106 for. If you wanted to trade it for a player already in the NFL. Call this, trade for a vet. Because you're going to have to, it sounds like you're going to have to answer the question, Daniels, May, or London?
Yeah, right. London.
Olave. He already has Olave.
Yeah, he has Olave.
Lighthouse says lots of people looking to move to that 106. That's good to know. I wonder what offers are on the table.
Yeah, if you have any offers, let us know because I think I might be interested in moving that 106 and seeing what I could potentially get. If those top 4, he's saying Marvin, Neighbors, Rome are all off the board, and potentially Brian Thomas. Well, not Brian Thomas Jr., but can move to like the 109.
We have to be careful though, because think about this in last year's world, for example. What if you traded away like CJ Stroud and you got Garrett Wilson? It might have felt good.
Right. So like you're saying like Daniels or maybe comes that.
Yeah. Like it might feel like I don't know. I know we've disagreed on Daniels May as far as like who's quarterback to. For me, it's more like it could be either of them. For you, it's definitely Drake May. But in my opinion, if Jaden Daniels starts for an NFL team, he's going to put up fantasy points. Like these guys who can rush, they just don't fail for fantasy. We don't know if they become franchise quarterbacks, but you could have sold Justin Fields even, who was a top 5 points per game quarterback a couple years ago. You could have sold him for multiple firsts if you wanted to. Like those guys put up fantasy points. So I'm thinking if we pass on the Daniels and go out and get a Drake London, I love Drake London, but what happens if Jaden Daniels is a top, 10 quarterback? What if he goes out and puts, and this won't happen, but like my biggest comp for him has been RG3 since day one. RG3 had arguably the best rookie season ever from a fantasy quarterback. Arguably ever, probably, because of what he did on the ground. What happens if he goes out there and does a quarter of what RG3 showed, What happens if he is top 12 instead of the quarterback one? I just feel like in a year's time, you could really regret that.
Sure.
So, because we're almost going against our own opinion here, which is drafting for value, trading for need.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking, because it just doesn't help his team. And does he have a 25 first? He does have his 25 first, which is great. Okay, I agree. I hear you. I hear you. If I trade away and then go for that wide receiver, that quarterback could definitely blow up there. So
it's just tough. I mean, what receiver would we say right now is valued around the 106?
Well, it just depends on what some people. That's why I asked him. He was just like, wide receiver, retirement home, and Amon-Ra next level both want to move up.
It's probably Ayuk, London, Tyreek, Pittman, Waddle, DJ Moore range. We love those players, but would we regret trading for them if one of those guys ends up being a top 10 quarterback in year one?
Yeah. I can see why Amon-Ra new level wants a new quarterback.
Amon-Ra.
A new level.
Amon-Ra. I'm on a new level. Yeah, you can see why they want to move up. It's obvious. But, like, okay, so that's an interesting deal. The offer that he said was... Okay, well, he didn't say an offer there, but... I mean, if you could pivot this into, like, Kirk Cousins plus the 110, would you do that? I don't know. Maybe.
No, I mean, I don't know. I would personally be going for the wide receiver over the quarterback.
Right, but I'm just saying, like, at the 110, you're probably getting a wide receiver we like, but you're also adding to your quarterback room.
Sure.
I don't know what I think about that deal. What does the chat think about that? In a 12-man, I think it'd be a no-brainer, but in a 10-man, I'm not 100% sure how I feel. But it is star 11, so you're kind of constantly battling that. I want to know what the chat thinks. What do you think about this deal? Kirk Cousins of the 110 or the 106? Considering this format.
I'm thinking of, like...
Well, let's say something that's super obvious. If you can get the 106, if you can get a Amon-Ra St. Brown, it's a no-brainer. Right?
Yeah,
we agree.
And I'm happy to send more. Like, I'm happy to send the 106 and the 209 to get a Amon-Ra. And then if he's gonna get a quarterback there, just give me Aaron Rodgers.
I don't know if you're getting that back, but maybe. Yeah.
I mean, you're getting the 106.
I think you're already getting a Amon-Ra at a discount, though.
Maybe.
Pretty big discount there, I'd say, on a Amon-Ra. But
anyways,
that's obvious that we would do that.
Yeah, that's obvious that
I'm not going to get DK or Pickens or Cooper, but what about DK? Okay, how about this world? DK in the 110.
No.
You're not doing that?
No.
Really? Okay.
DK Metcalf in the 110 for the 106 in this draft. I wouldn't do that.
I would take DK. And the prime reason is because we're accomplishing two things here. We're still staying in the draft, and we're improving your wide receiver room.
I guess I'm not a massive believer in DK.
Yeah, I think DK is relatively priced for what he actually is right now. Last couple years, I was very much on sell high DK Metcalf train, but I think he's valued where he should be now. That would make your wide receiver room AJ Brown, Olave, Flowers, Diggs, DK. That's your 5, and you have the 110 to hit on a Mitchell, a Worthy, a McConkey, whoever kind of hits there for you.
Sure.
So I don't know. I would do that personally, but that's just another idea to throw out there.
I think it just all depends on how he feels. And I agree. If you like that deal, Lighthouse, go for it.
I would even do something like, oh man, yeah.
Like, I'm looking at this. Look at wide receiver retirement for a deal to get the 109. He said.
Okay, look at wide receiver retirement.
Jefferson, Waddle, Nico for the 109. So I'm assuming he wants that 106, obviously.
So what was the deal? Sorry, for the 109.
It wasn't a deal. He was like, "What would
Okay,
you
okay,
do?"
right. Well, let's say the obvious. Like to me, if I can move back from the 106, Nico Collins plus the 110, I
1-9.
would
Yeah.
definitely be willing to do that. In fact, you might have to pay more than just the 106, but just like as like structures, for sure, Nico Collins, we do that. I don't think I'd go Evans, Adams, Allen though.
No, I wouldn't go any. Yeah, I wouldn't go those guys. Yeah, he wants the 109 and maybe the 203 or something for the 106.
See, that's not enough for me to move back.
It would have to be. It would have to be a player.
Yeah.
Lighthouse. I don't want the 109 and the 203, and I gave you the 106. I want a proven player now because you're going to get a proven asset. That's how you sell it. You're getting the 106, my guy. You're getting one of the top players in this NFL draft, and you still have the option to get a quarterback. So I need a proven player at the wide receiver position, plus your 109.
Yeah, that might be a tough deal to get done because if someone sent me that deal, I'm probably not accepting it. But it's a fine starting point. But I wouldn't. He's probably going to counter with like Adams in the 109. It's like, no, sorry.
Yeah.
I appreciate the offer, but no.
He loves Nico, you said.
Okay, well, then that's probably not getting done. I'm assuming he wouldn't do it for Waddle, but we'll put that in there. Like I would pay the 106 and the 209. Let's start with the 306 to get Nico in the 109 or Waddle in the 109 in a heartbeat.
Sure.
But there's not really like, I mean, would you do the 109 and his 2 seconds? I think that might be the best middle ground.
For the 106, straight up.
Is it what does he have? The 203 and the 207. I think I would do that in a start.
And that's in that scenario. Wouldn't you just want one of the veterans, like Adams or Evans? Like,
okay, so the 203 plus Evans.
Yeah, exactly. Like in that scenario, I would like, okay, give me a wide receiver then.
Yeah, I don't mind that. But if Jaden Daniels falls to the 106, would you regret this? if these I'm asking myself, if this ended up being Jaden Daniels at the 106, and I got Mitchell, the 203, and Evans, I think I'd be annoyed.
I need to break down this again. Okay, so the 101 has Patrick Mahomes, Bryce Young, so he's going Caleb. The 102.
He told us in his context that Marv, Neighbors, and Adunze are all likely to go top 4. Meaning, like we said, you're probably left with Daniels or May at the 106. He says it would likely be May at the 106, but I mean, let's play out the scenario where May goes to the Vikings. It's probably Daniels at the 106. See, there's just so much unknown right now.
Like I think even I would be upset if Daniels
True.
or May falls to the 106.
Sure.
You know, like I think it doesn't matter what team they go on. It can be the worst team. It can be made to the Giants that people don't like. It can be made to the Patriots that people don't like. Would still rather have May.
He says there's an LSU lover ahead of him, so that means Daniels probably goes earlier. Yeah, dude, I don't know. I'm not sure I would love that. I think it would have to be a Nico Waddle deal.
I think so as well.
I think in the long run I'd be upset at myself.
I think so as well, and the only reason why I'm trying to explore every option is because I know you want to compete now.
Yeah.
You not getting a wide receiver this year is not going to put you in a place to compete. So maybe it's best to punt. I mean, I know that's probably why you were trying to tear down from the quarterback room. But if I'm trying to tear down from a quarterback room, it's probably going to have to be either a massive tier down from the quarterback room to a tier up at the wide receiver position. But I'm not necessarily like, can I send Jalen Hurts to get a Kirk Cousins and a Monra? You know, like, is that like a deal that maybe is worth it?
Well, I'm not
sure.
I personally think he's competing this year. I definitely think he is.
Even without him drafting a wide receiver this year?
Yeah, big time. Because just because we drafted Drake May at the 106 doesn't mean Drake May's on our team at the start of the year. Doesn't mean Jalen Hurts is on our team. You know, Kyler Murray. I think with the team you have and the assets around you, I absolutely think you're competing. You have probably the strongest start 9 roster of anyone in your league. When you look at Hurts, Murray, Acham, Barkley, AJ Brown, Olave, Flowers, Diggs, and Trey McBride, right? That's 2, 4, 8, 9. You have the strongest start 9. We just have to figure out that start 11. It's a very, I think you're competing for sure. We just, like I said, that's why the DK Metcalf deal is so enticing to me, because all of a sudden I get DK Metcalf thrown in there as well, and I get to take whoever I want at the 110. But let's talk about Jalen Hurts then. If we were to tear down from Jalen Hurts,
I'm just looking for the right fit. Like I said, I kind of threw that Kirk Cousins and Monroe. Like, would you do that for Jalen Hurts? Because you're killing two birds with one stone here. He has the 110 as well.
In a 10-man, I don't think that's enough. So where is Amon-Ra? What team is it?
I'm on a new level.
Is that the name of the team?
Yeah,
right.
Remember?
Yeah, I just don't think that's enough. But if it was like Amon-Ra, Kirk in the 110, and then I'd send him the second rounder I have.
Yeah, 106 plus the second rounder.
So you said
not the 106, but
Kirk, Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and here's the issue though. Now you're leaving a huge hole at quarterback.
Well, if he keeps the 106, he's not.
Potentially, he's potentially not.
Yeah, 100%. But like, if he does keep that 106, you have Kirk Cousins, and you have the ability to draft a younger quarterback. Now it pivots to a different scenarios where like, well, you don't have the proven quarterback, but now you have an older quarterback that is going into a new offense that we all expect to be something really high up. So you get your quarterback, you get your wide receiver, and you have the opportunity to still draft at the 106.
Yeah.
Which, once again, just
mind the
whole
deal.
New question.
I don't mind the deal. I just think a guy like Hurts in a 10-man is real. Like, I really need to be blown away by the offer.
I'm just looking at teams here.
But let's look at the team who has Tua in the 105, because that is an offer that's already on the table. So which team has Tua in the 105?
Tua was it Tua and the 105? I think it was Tua and the 107. He must have traded that.
No, it was 105.
Well, this guy has pick 107 that I'm seeing. It says Pollard Greens, team 7. Oh, Pollard Green.
Well, let us know, Lighthouse, if something has changed there with that team. The 105 just got traded. Okay, so the 105 is that's not an option anyway. I don't think that would have been enough anyway. So we'll take that off the table then. But how about the Anthony Richardson team? Who has A-Rich?
Yeah, that's where I was going next. Anthony Richardson is team 1. Puka.
Okay. So he wants Jalen Hurts. Well, let's like start with the obvious. Like I would absolutely do like a Hurts for a Rich plus a Puka. Would you pay the 106 there? No, but
like Hurts and the 106 for A Rich and Puka?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out the move here. I'm trying to figure out that deal.
I feel like that would technically be enough.
And would you do that though? That's really the question. I don't know.
My biggest question with Anthony, I mean, you're putting the same hope that you have in Anthony Richardson and Jane Daniels.
Yeah, that you're really not solving a problem that much.
Yeah, exactly. So
I'm not sure I love that, but let's try something else with A-Rich here. I mean, ideally, we're gonna have to make it a 2-for-1 type. Like, for example, A-Rich and Smith. Would you do that? A-Rich and Smith, Devonta
Smith.
I'm not even
Well,
sure
not
I would do
has,
that.
well, he has AJ Brown, so you wouldn't want to do
Oh
that
yeah,
technically.
that's true. Well,
I guess
it wouldn't
A-Rich and
stop you
Addison
from
maybe.
doing it, but yeah. But he does have the 103. This is tough. I guess there's not a natural move here.
It's not natural.
Because he's saying the A-Rich in the 10 and the 202, that's not enough. It doesn't make any sense to take on that risk. But like in a league where you can start 6 wide receivers, what about A-Rich, Addison, and the 202? What about that? Would you do that?
Yeah, and you still keep the 106.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, that would be interesting because you still, once again, you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Quarterback, wide receiver, plus a 202, which is technically the 112 in this scenario.
Yeah.
Um,
I'd add the 306 if I needed to. Like that's a starting point. But you know, he might think it's too much. In a 10-man, Jalen Hurts should be way overvalued. So if he's not in your league, you can't sell him. That's the unfortunate reality. But how about some other names that you tiered down to? I mean,
that's what I was gonna say.
He already has Kyler. That was gonna be my favorite name, but
Well, how far down would you want to go? Like,
I'd go Herbert. Like let's throw names out there that we would tier down to. Herbert for sure. I'm trying to find quarterbacks in the community here. So Hurts there. So we could tier down to Herbert, A-Rich, Love. Yeah, I'm not sure how much further I'd go down.
Well, what happens if you tier up tremendously at the wide receiver position? Because the reason why I say that is because Trash Panda's Team 9 has Trevor Lawrence and Jared Goff. But his wide receiver room is Drake London, T. Higgins, Tank Dell. If I can get maybe one of those top 3, that could be interesting.
I think I'd rather have Hurts in this league.
Okay.
He says he knows Trash Panda wants an elite quarterback. Well, let's play out this world then. I don't really love... In a 10-man, I don't think Hurts is... I love Trevor Lawrence, but in a 10-man, I'm not sure I want to pivot down there.
Like, you wouldn't do Trevor Lawrence, like, hypothetically, you wouldn't do Trevor Lawrence and Drake London if that was a real reality? Wow.
In a 12-man, I would. In a 10-man, I don't think I would.
I think I would be interested in that trade, just based off of, once again, killing 2 birds with 1 stone, like we keep saying.
If he adds a 204, I'd be a lot more interested.
And once again, in that scenario, you keep that 106.
Yeah.
And
I love Trevor Lawrence, like I said, but in a 10-man, you're giving up the guy who, at worst, has been quarterback 2 on a per-game basis in the past 2 years. 10-man, like those elite quarterbacks, they win leagues.
I mean, that's a lot of options.
I would also, personally, I'd rather tier down to a Love or a Herbert. So let's look at Herbert, the guy who has Justin Herbert, and let's look at the guy who has Jordan Love, because those are more enticing names in my opinion.
So the guy that has Justin Herbert is wide receiver retirement, who also has that Nico in the 109 trade.
Okay. So would he be willing to give us like a Nico or a Waddle?
Well, he loves Nico, he said. So.
Okay, or Waddle.
So you're saying Justin Herbert and Waddle for Jalen Hurts?
Yeah, that would be the starting point. He asked for the 209. You're not going to do that?
I'm not saying I'm not. I'm just wanting to know like where you would be at.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know if you wanted more than Herbert and Nico, or you wanted something else. Or sorry, if you wanted something else on top of Herbert and Nico, or just it was just going to be the two.
I'd be fine with those because the difference between Trevor Lawrence and London is I know Justin Herbert has scored over 23 points per game in a season. I know he can do it.
Sure. Lighthouse says, I feel like my weekly upside is capped by having Hurts and Saquon.
I don't know.
If that's the
I think they're both
case,
gonna really. I think they're gonna do great together. But let's keep looking at options. We talked about Jordan Love.
I think the reason why he thinks that, which a lot of people think that, correct me if I'm wrong, Lighthouse, is the tush push, those goal line opportunities. Now that they have Saquon, you think that's going to be taken away from Jalen Hurts. Just let us know if that's what you're thinking there.
Another option there is Herbert plus the 109 plus Adams or Evans. I would do that. I really like that deal too. Keep the 106. You get Herbert. You get the 109, which you can play around with, and you help your flex options for sure. No, that's true, Lighthouse. I think they're both going to dominate, man. I really do, but I get it. Hurts, Love. Let's talk about Jordan Love. Team 5.
Yeah, Team 5, Jordan Love.
This is little bit more difficult here.
Yeah, I would say this would be difficult. There's not a natural pivot down at the wide. Excuse me. It's not a natural guy that you can get at the wide receiver position outside of Garrett Wilson, unless you really believe in Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Well, what if we solve his problem where he's worried about having Saquon, Hurts and Saquon for Love, Gibbs, and yeah, Jason's not enough. Garrett Wilson's too much. Yeah, there's no natural pivot there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. I think my favorite deal is this Herbert deal. I also like the A-Rich deal. I don't mind the Amon-Ra St. Brown one either. Those three deals there are really enticing to me. I think my favorite is Herbert, 109, Adams, Evans.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite one is definitely the Amon-Ra Kirk, because you still keep the 106, you get a quarterback, and you get Amon-Ra, who is a top 4 wide receiver in Dynasty.
Yeah.
So I would be interested in something like that if you could potentially get that done.
In an ideal world, you do get one of these three deals done for Hurts, because it's going to solve a lot of your problems. It's going to give you the flex options you need to compete. But either way, I think you're competing. You know, if it is just scenario 1 and you take Jaden Daniels or Drake May here, and you take BPA at the 209, okay, you might not have your complete team heading into week 1, but week 4, week 5, week 6, I mean, there's definitely deals out there that you can make. You give yourself a ton of flexibility in your quarterback room. But
and like some of those wide receivers at the 209 can definitely hit. You know, like Polk could emerge, Pierce all could emerge. So it's like we saw with Jaden Reed last year.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he was in that middle range in the second round.
And
Rasheed Rice in that middle, exactly in the middle range of that second round. So if you hit on that guy at the 209, that can definitely be a flex option there. So I think there is hope and belief in the upside for your team, no question.
Oh yeah.
I guess I was trying to just make you a contender now. That's why I was really thinking about, okay, can I get my wide receiver and quarterback and hopefully keep my 106 this year? And either way, you still have a really good team here at Lighthouse. But let us know if you have any more questions for your team here.
Yeah, let us know if there's anything that we didn't answer for you. But I think let's play out just quickly ideal world. I think both of us, ideal world is one of these three deals get done. So let's just play out that it's your Kirk Cousins deal, right? Okay, so you lose Jalen Hurts, but you get Kirk Cousins, you keep the 106, you get Amon-Ra on the 110. So if that scenario were to play out, we'd still have Kyler Murray. We'd have Kyler Murray, Kirk Cousins, we'd have Drake May or Jaden Daniels. Our running back room won't have changed, but our wide receiver room will have. We will have added Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown, Olave, Flowers, Diggs, and then our flex would be probably that 110, a Worthy, a Mitchell, whoever that is. That works out really well. I prefer the Herbert deal. Both are great options. I just prefer getting a guy like Herbert into that room. So you get Herbert, Kyler Murray at the 106. You still add Daniels or May. But you also have the 109 where you add a Brian Thomas Jr. You add a Mitchell, whoever that is. And you also add Adams and Evans. So all of a sudden your wide receiver room is A.J. Brown, Olave, Flowers, Diggs, Adams, or Evans, and whoever you get at the 109 there. Both great routes to take. Both improve your team. And all these options are viable. Just don't undersell Hurts in a 10-man. He says, definitely appreciated. Glad to know you guys are struggling to find good options as well. Want to tear down but not lose value. I watch all the content. Keep up the great work. No, I appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, man.
Look, there's
Thank you so
never
much.
a perfect world when it comes to trading. You know, it's the reality for trading is that oftentimes it's a lot of counters and no deal done. You know what I mean? And that sucks, but that's the reality of trading. But I put the whiteboard in your DMs there, Lighthouse. I appreciate you big time. We will go on to the last team for tonight, which is Chase, Cidrab. Cidrab, are you here?
Cidrab.
We appreciate you big time. If anybody is watching this and they want their Dynasty team reviewed, just like we were able to do for Lighthouse and for Big Dog just then, I'll put a direct link in the chat for you to sign up. All you got to do is become a Motherflocker member with the promo code LAND. A direct link is in the chat. If you're watching this later, it is in the pinned comment and the description. But if you become a Motherflocker member with the code LAND, you're getting everything you see here on your screen, a rookie report, a Dynasty team review, and everything else there, including supporting Badaki and I in our goal to do this for our family's full-time support. Our family's full-time. But the next team is Chase, and Chase is here. We'd love to see it. Let's have a look. It's a My Fantasy League. So let's pull this bad boy up, and then you can read the context for us if you don't mind.
All right.
Oops.
Format 12-team Superflex. Tight end premium. So tight end gets 1 extra point per reception. It's start 10. This is a fun scenario why I got this roster review a couple months ago, but still I have access to another review. I think it'll be cool to show off what I applied for from your breakdown.
Yeah, so just to clarify, by the way, he was supporting us in 2023, and his year hadn't expired yet, if that made sense. So he used his team review like 10 months into his subscription in January, and then it renewed in March, and now he's got another one because you get a new one every year. But yeah, link to previous review. Go ahead.
Link to previous review if you wanted to reference it at all. I at least take a peek at the teams for a couple months ago to see what has changed. Okay, so at this point, I made several trades, so I want your thoughts on those. And now I have new draft capital to work with, so need some pointers on how to navigate that exactly. And he says he puts a bunch of trades there, which we'll definitely break down. So for the most part, just want to know if you see any more trade opportunities, or if I should cool it down on the trading, and also need to revamp a whiteboard on potential stick and pick pivot trade options. Sure to all love, boys. Thank you so much.
So I did pull up the stream where we looked at his team. This was February 28th. And this is what his team looked like then. He had the 101, the 103. He had CJ, A-Rich, Deshaun Watson, Will Levis. He had Bijan, Achan. His wide receiver room was dog water. And he had no tight end. I remember this. I remember this stream now. So these are the moves that he's made since that stream. He traded away A-Rich, Dotson, and Palmer. He received the 102 and a first in 2025. And he thinks that first is going to be the 101. So let's say that is the 101 and the 102. I think you and I love that deal.
Yes, let's see. Beacon Tower Beaver. Just to see why he thinks that. Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones, Tajay Spears, Aaron Jones.
Beacon Town Beaver here. Josh Downs is wide receiver 1.
Shakira, Wandale. He has a 112, the 201, the 202.
I can easily see this team being the worst for sure.
No question. I mean, look at the tight ends.
Yeah. You know, when a guy's rostering Will Mallory, we're struggling. It is struggle city when we got Will Mallory, Elijah Higgins, and Kylan Granson rostered on the squad. The next trade that he made was traded away Stroud, received Justin Herbert, a 25 first, and the 109. Definitely contenders first, but you never know. I like that deal, getting Herbert and a 25 first and the 209. That's probably one of those deals we might, correct me if I'm wrong, we might have advised that on the stream, or at least talked about it on the stream.
Yeah, I think we talked about maybe selling CJ.
He traded away Will Levis and Watson, received a first and the 211. That's a... I don't think any of us really know how that's going to go. We don't know how that will work out. So He also traded away Josh Downs, 201 to 209, and received the 107. And remind me what it's a 12-team start 10.
Yeah, start 10, Titan plus.
I don't mind that. I don't mind that deal.
Mm-hmm.
And he also traded away Deshaun Watson, Bijan Robinson, and Devon Achane, and received Josh Allen. I am not 100% sure about that one. What about you?
I would say that's a good trade.
Okay.
Getting Josh Allen. Yeah, Bijan Robinson is probably worth 2 firsts. Devon is worth I guess it depends on how you see. Maybe Devon could be worth 2 firsts or 1 first. And Deshaun Watson is not worth a first there. So having Josh Allen and Justin Herbert here in this room that's resetting, I think it's a good one.
He says it showed as a smash in your calc. That makes sense. No, I mean, look, getting Josh Allen, whenever Josh Allen is like the most valuable player in Dynasty, I get it. But I just need to know how the rest of your roster looks. That's what I'm saying. Like, before I say yes or no, I need to know what the rest of your roster really looks like. But what's his team name? Do you remember?
No. Let's see.
Team name is the Unsullied.
Unsullied. There you go. Number
Second
2.
overall.
Second overall, and that's probably because of the draft capital here. So let's break it down.
This is what I was thinking with the running backs, because now which
I'm okay with, because he got his quarterback, and he has, like, from all the context, he has like so many picks in 25, and he has picks in this draft class. So
we did have Bijan Achane, and we had weaknesses at wide receiver. We had good quarterbacks. We had decent draft capital. But he says my plan is to address running back in 2025. Yeah, I don't know.
I think it makes sense.
Yeah,
for me, in my eyes.
It could make sense. I am not sure.
2, 3, 4. He has 4 24 first, and he has 1, 2, 3, 4 25 first. So I think it makes sense to reset it, get your 2 foundational quarterbacks, because you're gonna keep Bijan and Devon, and by the time he competes, it's like, well, should we trade him away?
I mean, how long are you going to wait to compete? Because if you're waiting, if you're going to wait so long to compete that Bijan and Achane are irrelevant, then you're just throwing away your money. I don't agree. I mean, look.
Oh.
I'm not saying it's a bad trade. It's probably the best value is Josh Allen, but I don't know that I would have done it. I am not sure. I don't know. I don't know if I would or would not have done it. I'm not sure. But anyway,
indifferent about it.
It doesn't matter right now, because let's see what we're working with. Your draft capital clearly has drastically improved.
No question.
But at quarterback, you're definitely looking great. Allen, Herbert. In a way, you're actually looking a little bit weaker than you were. Of course, you have more draft capital, which we'll talk about. But so that is probably going to be your answer there. At running back, it's bad, but you know that. You're planning on addressing that in a different way. Tank Dell is really the only wide receiver of note that I care about on your team now.
Yeah.
And you still got Peyton Hendershot. All reliable.
Peyton Hendershot. All reliable here. So remember, this is a tight end premium. So he's going to get an extra point per reception in a start 10. Chase, correct us if we're wrong, but what's that? 3 wide receivers, 3 flex. So 2.
He's got 4 firsts in 2025, by the way.
Yeah. It's 4 firsts in 25 and 4 firsts this year in the top 7, which is intriguing.
Yeah.
Chase, can you just put your team set up and what that looks like out of curiosity?
Yeah, start 10. I assume we are 2 quarterback, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver or 3, 1 tight end, 2, 4, 6, 7, 3 flex. So it's either 3 wide receivers or 3 flex.
Sure. Okay. You can start with the 5 wide receivers along those lines.
3 flex. Okay, cool.
That's fair.
So let's talk this through then. The 102.
Let's break it down.
What are you going? Marvin, obviously.
Yeah, you can go Marvin here. Honestly, you can go Marvin, Neighbors, and then Bowers, or you can go another quarterback if you really want to.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we're planning on punting this year, I just think you go best player available, like we always say.
And because this is a tight end premium, I do believe one of those top 3 picks has to be Brock Bowers because you have Payne Henry in your shot. What do you think about that? With the
Yeah.
with the 0.5, with the extra point per reception. So it's a full point per reception. Now, I would say this. It's going to be really based or dependent on landing spot. Like,
let's play out 2 worlds here. I think you and I are looking at this differently.
Sure.
And there's no wrong way about this, but you were saying
I'm honestly happy either way, whichever way
Brock
Chase
Bowers
wants to go.
in here,
Yeah. So, Brock Bowers.
and you wanted Malik Neighbors at the 103. Okay.
Yeah. Let's say you go 2 wide receivers. I'll play the 2 wide receivers and Brock Bowers.
So, what are you doing at quarterback then?
Well, at the quarterback position, you either at the 107 if JJ is there, or if Daniels, which I doubt, Daniels or May is going to be there. Then I think one of those 3 quarterbacks could potentially fall to the who has the 106. I think is a bigger question, because maybe we'll let the draft fall to us. 105, 106, 106. Looking for the 106. Any luck at the 106?
Can't find it anywhere.
It just doesn't exist.
Might be Team 1.
It actually doesn't exist.
Team 1 has it.
Classic. Joe Burrow, Jordan Love, Sam Darnold.
There's no reason for this guy not to take a quarterback, though, because of his wide receiver room.
I mean, this guy is stacked, though. Sam Laporta, TJ Hawkinson, Joe Burrow, Jordan Love.
Yeah.
Justin, Puka, DK, Zay, Reed. My goodness.
Yeah, he's probably going quarterback.
105
is going quarterback. Bryce Young is his number 1. So in this world, you will not get Daniels or May.
Mm-hmm.
You might be stuck with McCarthy. I'm not sure.
Sure.
Hypothetically. I just, in my opinion, the way I look at this team is you're saying you're punting this year. If you're punting this year, and same thing I would say for any team, even if they're not punting this year, is take the best player available at any position. So I definitely get it. Brock Bowers is for sure in play, but it still like depends on the landing spot for me. I'm not going Brock Bowers regardless. I think like
that's what I was getting to, because like it's really dependent on landing spot. Brock Bowers goes to the Chargers. Love it. But if he goes to a team like we said, the Colts or the Saints, I think we 100% would second guess it, and we would say we're not necessarily sure we would draft him here, even if it's a full point tight end, like 2 point tight end premium to a team that we don't believe, or we just don't know how that's going to work out in his favor.
Sure. Where I differ is I need a quarterback in those top 3 picks. I can't not draft a quarterback in those top 3 picks. It's funny. We talk about how much of a crapshoot it is for quarterbacks in round 1 for fantasy. Do you guys know that wide receivers have a worse hit rate in round 1 than quarterbacks do? NFL draft? I mean, it's shockingly bad. Round 1 wide receivers are like the 6th safest bet you can make in your fantasy drafts. They have a 48% hit rate. Round 1 quarterbacks have a hit rate of around 59%. So if we're playing the numbers, if we're playing Moneyball here, we're trying to get the most value. I got to get a quarterback in one of those top 4 picks. So yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say that Malik Neighbors isn't going to hit or Brock Bowers isn't going to hit, but I'm not leaving this draft without a quarterback. I mean, and I don't want to wait till the 107. So to me, I got to take Daniels or May there. And I know
Chase is saying it. Sorry to interrupt, because Chase saying at the 105, the 105 needs a quarterback. However, I don't think taking Bowers at 4 because he could fall at 7. Because if you look at team 5, team that has the pick 105, he has Dalton Kincaid, Jake Ferguson.
Yeah.
And he needs a quarterback.
Yeah.
So maybe taking a quarterback probably then prompts him to take a tight end there, Casey, by the way. Um, anyways,
Yeah.
continue. Sorry to
No,
interrupt.
if it's me, I got to get a quarterback in those top 4 picks. If it's Daniels, if it's May, you can decide on who you want there. And then I'm still gonna go Malik Neighbors over Brock Bowers there. Now there's a scenario. Yeah, Brock goes to the Bengals and Malik is a Bear. You know, that's frustrating because of how many weapons are there. You can have that conversation, but I would still put these guys in like preference with the dashes here. Malik being first, Daniels being first there. Obviously, that could change if May goes to the Vikings or whatever. And at the 107, you said that there is a chance that Brock Bowers is there. So Bowers would be your preference, obviously. If Bowers isn't there, you're telling me Adunze's there. So I don't think we can really fail on that pick. But I gotta shoot for a quarterback at the 103 or the 104.
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy with that, especially the way this board looks like it's gonna fall at the 105.
Yeah.
With the guy who has the 105 here.
Anything you want to do, or like say with your scenario here?
106 here. No, then I would just go normal. I would just go best case scenario. I think my biggest thing, if going Brock Bowers at the one, I think it automatically changes, Chase. Like, if you think about it, Brock Bowers just go top 5 to the Chargers, you're probably reconsidering, right? And then Roma Dunze, who's most likely going to go to the 107, hypothetically goes to the Bears, and you're probably not loving that landing spot. So I think at the 106 and Brock Bowers is truly dependent on landing spot, and if you believe he is going to take it to the next level with that draft capital.
Yeah.
Say I'll take Bowers over Neighbors in that scenario. So, and I think a lot of people would depending on that landing spot. So,
yeah,
I'm happy either way with either scenario. Yeah, if you want to go quarterback, that's great. That means Brock Bowers' value is going to rise, and that means somebody else is going to fall if he does go top 5, which at the moment I think we can both agree is highly doubtful. But if that is a world in the same world that does happen, then that's going to be very interesting to then reevaluate.
So you're in a 12-man start 10. Our assets are very like top heavy here, but we have 4 firsts in 2025, so that's okay. Man,
I don't think moving anyone else here is the way to go.
The only thing you're going to be able to do is move Josh Allen. There's no other assets here that are like value to the point where you can move them for huge value.
Yeah.
But we already grabbed Josh Allen. I don't know, man. I might have stuck with the Bijan side of that, but that's a tough part where maybe our calculator and my mindset doesn't line up. Because I also think Watson's undervalued right now.
I think he's undervalued, but so how are you viewing that? So Bijan, because the way we always break it down is like, okay, Bijan Robinson is 2 firsts, right? Devon is equivalent to what for you? 1 or 2 firsts?
107, 108, 109.
Okay, and then Deshaun Watson is equivalent to
at least 1 first, because that's what he should be valued at. That's why he's undervalued. If he's not valued as a first, he should be. And if we're not selling him for that value, he's being undervalued.
So you're saying in this scenario, in your mind, he gave away 4 firsts for Josh Allen?
Yeah, which is what you'd have to pay. But I don't think this team is in a position to do that.
Okay.
That's a move you make when you're ready to go all in.
And I think that's what he's doing for this year, next year. He's going all in for the next 2 years.
Well, he's certainly not going all in this year with Chase Brown and Elijah Dotson, so you're wasting 1 year of Josh Allen's prime.
Sure, but like next year definitely change. I think he can easily compete next year in 2025.
He can, but let's play out this world, because in this world, what did we add? We added Neighbors and Harrison, right? That's best case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Neighbors, Harrison, Tank Dell, Douglas. You can start 5 wide receivers. You've got 4 firsts and 25. Maybe you build that and you build your running back room simultaneously. Um, I don't know. It's tough. Like I said, I don't mind the value of that deal, but the context is important. I just don't think our team is in a position to.
So I think you would have wanted to do more like 2-for-1 type deals or a 1-for-1. Like for example, you would have rather gotten a Kirk Cousins and a wide receiver, hypothetically, or a Jared Goff and a wide receiver for Bijan Robinson to continue to build than Devon A. Chain. You would have rather had like another wide receiver because it's a start six. You would and then
So
be
my overall
you get what I'm
thoughts
saying?
is like I just don't think we needed to like. It's just my personal opinion. If any team has Bijan and Achan and they're not planning on competing with them at some point, I think we're playing Dynasty wrong. We're punting out way too long and we're continually rebuilding. You know what I mean? Like Bijan and Achan should fit every roster. Now, some rosters might benefit from moving them, but I think they fit every roster. Like at best case scenario, that's what you're getting with your 2025 first round picks. Absolute best case scenario, you're hitting on 2 out of those 4 picks are an Achan and a Bijan. You know. Of course, I understand like the value of a Josh Allen, and
But
I think again you're planning on punting at least next year. What about the year after? Are you going to compete the year after? What if those running backs don't hit? You're going to waste 2 years of Josh Allen's prime. What if Deshaun Watson recovers to be a top 12 quarterback this year? You might have sold him on the low.
Look, I get it.
What if Bijan actually does break out and be the RB1 in Dynasty? You're saying he wouldn't go for 3 first-round picks at the age of, what, 22, 23 will he be? You know?
But at the same time, he's not helping you to compete with like if we were to put Bijan Robinson, let's redo this trade. He has Deshaun Watson, Justin Herbert, and he has Bijan Robinson and Devon Chain on this team.
Sure.
It doesn't help him still to compete this year, or maybe it will probably help him to compete next year if he hits on his top 25. But I think he resets it and has the ability to hit on those 20 or to compete with those picks in 2025.
I don't know that I wholeheartedly agree. I agree to an extent, but your draft picks haven't changed in this scenario. So you still have Justin Herbert as your quarterback 1. You got Deshaun Watson as your quarterback 2. You've got Bijan and Achan as your RB1 and 2. That's a great duo. You're still getting the same exact wide receiver core. Marvin, Malik, maybe in a Dunze, in a start 5. Now, who knows about tight end, but that team is the future is very like clear. And like, by the way, Deshaun Watson's our quarterback 3 because we took Daniels or May anyway. So I don't know that we spread out the assets. Like I said again, like this just makes your team poor in many areas, and that's fine because that's kind of like the goal he wanted to do. He said I was trying to lower my overall potential points. I get it. How my question is, how does Josh Allen will never be more valuable in Dynasty ever. There's just never, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's going to get older every year. And he can't get any better than quarterback 1 on a per game basis like he's been 3 or 4 out of the last 5 years. Bijan Robinson, his value can improve. He goes up and puts up a top 4 season on per game basis at running back next year. His value absolutely can improve at his age. If Achan stays healthy and he did what he did last year, his value can improve. If Deshaun Watson bounces back and has a top 12 season with that guaranteed money, his value can improve. We've also seen Deshaun Watson be that quarterback at times. So just a team that is trying to... I just don't understand it with this team. Like I said, I feel like we're definitely punting this year. So at minimum, we're wasting 1 year of Josh Allen. I get that deal. It's not a bad value at all. I just don't know that it makes sense for this team. Like if you're telling me I'm ready to compete and that was what I had to do. I had to do this to get Josh Allen to push me over the top. I get it, but I don't think I really love it. I think we spread ourselves really thin at one asset. But Aki, what happens if Josh Allen tears his ACL this year?
It doesn't matter because he's not competing.
Okay, but is he ever more valuable than he was today?
I mean, no, but he could definitely get back to that point.
Well, the answer was no. He's never going to be younger. He's never going to be considered like pre-ACL tear.
But I think that the same could be said. the same could be said with those running backs.
Okay,
like,
but now you have 3 assets
and those running backs
one asset that everything is hinging on.
But those running backs instantly next year, when like, yeah, if Bijan Robinson finishes as RB1 next year, even then, even if Josh Allen finishes as QB5, he wouldn't be more value than Josh Allen.
That's not what I'm arguing at all. I haven't said that one time.
I understand that, but I'm saying, like, basically what I'm saying is that, like, I know some of the arguments were saying that if these guys, if those things hit, could he potentially, like, he spread himself thin, right? He spread himself thin in that scenario, which Josh Allen is still QB1, and yeah, he's probably going to decrease in value every single year because he's going to get older and older. Doesn't mean he's not going to output those things, output those production.
Okay,
I don't know if that makes
I don't
any
think
sense.
you're understanding what I'm saying. He has already been the #1 quarterback in fantasy. What, 4 out of the last 5 years?
Sure.
He can't get better than what he is right now. He cannot be more valuable in the Dynasty community's eyes than what he is right now. It's not possible. It's just genuinely not possible. It's not my opinion. It's just genuinely not possible. We know the trends of Dynasty football. Quarterback gets older, they get less valuable in the Dynasty industry. And like I said, so he's a quarterback 1 this year. Is he more valuable next year? No, he's not. It's not possible to be more valuable than the #1 asset in all of Dynasty. That's my whole point. There is no scenario in which Josh Allen is more valuable next year than this year. It's just not possible. It's never been possible. It's just, and I just don't think it makes sense for this team at all. Chase has a couple comments. Says, to be honest, I don't want to keep Allen. I just thought it was a steal to get him. I plan to tear down for him from crazy value midseason when I contender loses a quarterback or something. I love that idea. I definitely agree. He says, I agree with you, Zach, but I will sell him before he falls off, or at least that's the plan. And like, in case I am not explaining myself well, I'm not even claiming he will fall off. The likelihood is Josh Allen's the best quarterback in fantasy next year.
Sure.
But again, he will never be more valuable than he is today. There will never be a scenario in the next 5 years in which Josh Allen has more value in the Dynasty community than he does today, right here, right now. So I don't like that deal for this team. It doesn't make sense for this team is what I'm trying to say. I think this team ideally would be turning Josh Allen into like a young core, like a Bijan and Achane, and a quarterback that is right now undervalued. Do you know what I mean? So I get it. I think the value is good for Josh Allen. I just don't think it makes sense for this team.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy. Once again, I'm happy either way. Whether you want to keep Josh Allen or trade him mid-season, that's great because you can get a haul from him right now. But if you want to keep him until next year, where I think in 2025 after that draft, if everything goes the right way and hypothetically you have, I don't know, let's say those top 4 picks are at least top 8, that can instantly change your team. And I think that's why I'm okay with this trade, and I'm okay for you to trade Josh Allen away to get more value as well. You have, 4 picks in one of the best draft classes that we've had in a long time.
But you still had that with or without Josh Allen, but
yeah, 100%. And you have another 20, and you have another 4 in 2025. So either way, depending on how these players hit, which obviously we won't know until the time comes, anything can happen for your team.
Yeah, anything can happen. Like I said, if you put it in a calculator, it totally makes sense why the calculator says that our calculator says that it's a good value, because I do genuinely think this is good value for Josh Allen. But how many teams should have Josh Allen on their roster? Only the ones that are competing. Otherwise it just doesn't make sense for your roster to have Josh Allen. So I definitely think my #1 goal would be trading him away. We might see that differently, but I just don't think
I'm happy to trade him away.
Fits us, So like, I'm trying to tear down to any of these names that, I mean, when we say tear down from Allen, I mean, he's the #1 quarterback. So there's literally so many names, but Mahomes is not going to get you value in return. Stroud's probably not going to get you value in return. Lamar's going to be tough, but maybe Hurts. Like the Burrow, Herbert, A-Rich, Love, Kyler range is where I'm looking. Burrow, A-Rich, Love, Kyler. That's the kind of range I would like to pivot to. But here's the other part about wanting to trade away Josh Allen is it sounds good in theory. But the difficult part is you have to find an owner who's willing to pay Josh Allen price. That's hard. That is really, really hard to do. So again, this is where it all comes down to like the team just mattering so much. Because I think we all agree trading away Josh Allen makes sense, but these teams have to want Josh Allen. They have to be willing to pay that price. And most teams are not going to be able to, even if they wanted to. Most teams won't be able to, you know. Mm-hmm. But who has Burrow? This guy has Burrow and Love. Can you get Joe Burrow and Puka Nacua? Would you do that?
Joe and Puka? Sure.
What would Keep Trade Cuts calculator say here?
I wonder if the 111 could be added there, but maybe I'm being...
Puka.
Maybe I'm getting too much.
Allen. You want the 111 as well?
Yeah.
I could see it happening in some leagues. I think in our leagues it wouldn't happen though. I don't know if you agree there.
And probably not. I guess I'm just probably wanting a little bit more. Like again, the QB1.
See, this is what's difficult. Again, you got to find someone who's willing to pay these prices, because it's not always going to be possible. Who has A-Rich? And it has to be a team that wants to go all in, by the way. See, Team 10, there's no way Team 10 wants Josh Allen. And what are they going to give you? Is there even a deal out there that makes sense for you to get Anthony Richardson in return? He says, look at Beast. Let's see.
Kyler.
The Beast. Okay, Kyler Murray. So I would love this deal, but do you think Chase, this guy, is going to go all in with Josh Allen with this team? But like a Kyler and Garrett is awesome. I mean, I don't know how you feel. Maybe you want more, but
no, I like Kyler and Garrett. Once again, I think I want to be more greedy as possible with Josh Allen.
And that's what's tough. You know, it's just people can't pay the price. He might be worth it, but what's this guy going to give on top?
Yeah, 108 is
he lost his wide receiver one. He doesn't have much draft capital to work with.
Yeah, it's probably not ideal. I think it'll probably just have to be a bigger trade down. I think trading into those quarterbacks and doing like a 2-for-1 is probably not going to be ideal for this team or for this league.
Let me see what the Jordan Love owner is working with.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
because
team one.
It's in the same scenario. It's like tearing down significantly and getting like, I don't know. Like,
yeah. Then the problem is like, yeah, it's hard to get equivalent value for Allen in a lot of leagues though. Love plus what with this team?
What if you do like Dak Prescott and like CeeDee Lamb?
Let me look at that in a second. I'm trying to work out this one here with Love. So Love plus the 106 plus something. Plus what, Zay Flowers maybe?
Sure.
Is that enough? Do you feel like you've gotten enough value for Josh Allen there?
I think I'm getting the 106. So now I put this draft in my future. Like I control this whole draft.
Love the 106 and Zay.
And you get the 106, you get a quarterback and another wide receiver. And you have, once again, the top 6 pick in this draft, which means you can then control it.
that guy might say, yeah, I could go all in with Josh Allen. That guy might be willing to pay even more. He might be even willing to give you like the 206 or something. But if he's not interested, then, like I said, you're just very limited. So you were saying Dak Prescott. Dak I find really difficult because if we're not competing this year, there's just no way Dak's more valuable next year, you know? Chase says you just got to let me cook. But what would the Dak deal be then?
Well, I was just thinking of CeeDee Lamb. That's why. Like, I'm happy to tear all the way down to get my superstar wide receiver for the future. But there's no draft capital here either, unless you get a 25 first. Can I get Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and another 25 first?
Do you feel like that's enough?
Probably not, because of Dak Prescott. But once again, I'm getting CeeDee Lamb, who is worth 2 to 3, and I'm getting a 25 first. So, like, in that scenario, the quarterback doesn't matter because of my draft capital.
But we also have to ask, why would Nastyville do this?
Sure.
Now he's going to compete with Christian Kirk and Cooper Kupp as his wide receiver room and no future first-round pick. And Jawan Johnson starting at tight end. So that's why I say, like, it's just tough because trading away Josh Allen is so hard to do. He's so valuable, and that's why it's so hard. You know? It's just really difficult to find the right partner. But when I look at the rest of your team, Chase, there is no other obvious sell high. Like, I think Herbert's undervalued. You don't have a running back to sell. Tank Dell's not someone I really am actively selling anyway. You got to have someone in your wide receiver room. I think you've made a lot of moves already. Chase says, do you think I need to add a quarterback this draft? I would definitely go Daniels May. And if you don't go Daniels May, you're going to have a tough time moving off of Josh Allen unless you get a perfect deal where you tear down to a quarterback. But also just how I would say to anyone, like, take the best player available in a draft, and I think oftentimes those are the quarterbacks.
Why were you thinking about trading back to the 104 to the 109? Who has the 109? And what trade were you thinking? Are you thinking like Brock? What if I should?
I would say you should go quarterback, but I think Badaki was on a different mindset earlier, though, so we might have two different opinions there.
I think my opinion was based off Josh Allen and you keeping Josh Allen and me seeing with this draft capital in 25 first, there's a window for you to compete.
Sure.
In the next 2 years, because my logic was adding DJ Moore, Higgins, or Pittman. Right. So sending away the 104 to get DJ Moore, Pittman in the 109, so getting more wide receivers.
I would be open to that if I was like competing soon.
Yeah.
Like, let's keep in mind that even though you have all these draft picks and it's a very good class, the odds historically are that they're not all going to hit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even though we're placing in names here to fill out this roster, the odds are that not all of them hit. More often than not, it doesn't happen.
100%. Excuse me. I think that's kind of where my thought process was. My deep thought process was getting my 2-star quarterbacks. Then next, trying to set up my core wide receivers. 25, I get my running backs, and somewhere along the way, I get a tight end.
Yeah.
And that's how I instantly thought about it, Chase. I saw this team and I was like, okay, you get your wide receivers here and either Brock Bowers or your quarterback, whatever you want to do. And then in 2025, everyone's raving about the 25 class. Not saying like if those 20, like imagine one of those guys is the best player is Travion Henderson and he becomes the Bijan Robinson of his class. Not saying that's going to happen, but just saying hypothetically, then you hopefully those 25 windows are there for you. Now, yes, the second part of that, all those guys need to hit in and land and have the perfect landing spot. But that's how I instantly saw this team, kind of like the way you were envisioning it. That's why I thought, okay, the next 2 years, you can easily compete with the draft capital that you have. So I see Zach's point of view for sure. And getting that capital, and like maybe you could have broken it down a little bit more with Bijan and Devon. But I see both ways, so I'm happy either way.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not trying to be harsh or anything. I just think Josh Allen is one of the most difficult players to trade. So that's what makes this very tough. There's very few teams that can take on a Josh Allen in a trade. Is there a correlation on high first-round draft capital compared to back first-round draft capital when it comes to receivers?
You're talking about like the hit rate?
I'm sure he means like top 10 pick versus top 20. There probably is, but I've done a decade of research, and I can't tell you exactly between each pick. There's only, like, you have to set a boundary for yourself with that kind of research at some point, unfortunately. But yeah, definitely top 10 picks are going to hit higher. I can tell you that just from thinking it through. But
yeah,
like I said, this class should be an anomaly. It should be an anomaly. Every player should be good. I haven't felt this good about a class in a long time. The last time I felt this good about a class was 2021. But as we know, 2021 didn't hit for all these players, right? Imagine if I told you in 2021 that Kyle Pitts would have one top 12 year on a per game basis now in his first 3 seasons.
I'm sure that is the only. Oh no, that's a lie.
Imagine if I told you Trey Lance is a backup and he played like 4 games. Imagine if I tell you Justin Fields is not even on his own team and he's a quarterback too, you know? Chase says, all I know is I'm ready for tomorrow's video. Yeah, I'm excited for tomorrow's video. A lot of effort, a lot of research put into that. And I genuinely think it's the best rookie draft guide type of video I've ever made. So I'm excited for you guys to see it. But look, I'm not trying to be harsh. I'm not saying the Allen deal was bad. It's really good value. At the end of the day, it's going to be tough to trade him. That's all I'm saying. It's going to be tough to trade him. Not that you have to. But Chase, let us know if there's anything that we didn't answer. Or is there anything that you wanted us to dive into that we didn't dive into? Chase says, it's bad if I can't trade him or he gets injured. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it just all depends. I guess you have to hope worst case scenario for everyone else in your league rather than yourself. But
yeah, and the odds are Josh Allen doesn't tear his ACL, but you know, still, you can't get more valuable than the number one asset. You know. What's up, Jake? Welcome in. Hunter says, how much does 6-point passing touchdowns and 2 quarterback instead of SuperFlex? 2 quarterbacks are just going to be even more valuable because you can't flex out other positions. But 6-point is what we play with. It's our standard 6-point for any touchdown. Yeah. But obviously, it gives your gunslingers a little bit more of an upside compared to, you know, those rushing guys. It evens the playing field a little bit, but still, those rushing guys have a ridiculous ceiling. But Chase, I appreciate you, man. I'm sorry I was gloomy. I don't mean to be gloomy. I mean, you know what? You're always gonna get honesty with me. You know, it's always gonna be honest. I don't think it's a bad trade. I'll say that.
Don't be gloomy. What the hell's wrong with you?
I'm not trying to be gloomy. I'm just trying to be honest. Chase says, it just threw me off, honestly, but I appreciate it. Your logic makes sense. Yeah. But it is good value overall. And if you can, here's the thing. If you can flip Allen for what he's worth and tear down, it will be an incredible move. There you go. It will be. There's nothing else to say. It will be an incredible move.
Yeah. Will be.
But hey guys, if you're watching this and you want your Dynasty team reviewed, this is the last one for today. But become a Motherflocker member with the promo code LAND. And you will get your Dynasty team reviewed by us. Not only will you already are in 10 or 11 Dynasty leagues.
I want the biggest pot in my career. It's a big part that's not there.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. I'll commission it. I just want your money, essentially.
You want my money. He wants the money. Anyway, guys, that is it. We appreciate you. Hit the like button if you have yet to do so. We just released a video this morning or this afternoon for you guys. In the video, the premise is basically all the players we want to sell before the NFL draft because we think the NFL draft is really going to hurt them. So I'll put a link to that in the chat. Go check that out. And look out for my video that comes out tomorrow morning or midday.
The stream is kind of messed up, by the way. I'm not sure why.
Is it?
It keeps pausing and... Anyways, yeah.
Okay, I don't know what's going on. It might be... Okay, well, we'll see you later. Bye.